Hey, welcome back, everybody. This time I actually remember definitively. This is episode 21 of Ironsworn with Blink and Firefly and I. How you doing this afternoon?
Doing all right. A little
Yeah?
warm,
Little
but
warm?
doing
Yeah.
good.
Well, I mean, that's... I've only got the top half on just to make this nice and simple and cool. Also, because up until, like, very,
As
very
you do.
recently... Well, this time it was a little bit more like up until recently. Really? Well,
Join
thanks, Wick.
the Jester's Court.
Thank you, Wick, for that. And thank you, Lou
Oh my
Poncho.
god, thank you so much.
Caught it beforehand. I'm glad you like you're a fan of just having introductions to content. That's worth a follow right there. Thank you for the all the things out of the way. Yeah, up until recently, I went straight from waking up to doing some more patching stuff around the house. Blink knows all about it, but I've been doing a kind of big rewiring project and patching holes in my walls and everything. So you can see the all the like drywall mud on my fingers. I was doing that up until like 20 minutes before the hour, and I was like, "Shit, Ironsworn! I gotta get. I need a shirt. I need to get the microphones on. Go! No time for pants." So this time,
Clothes.
it was the bare minimum of clothes required. Just whatever was in frame.
So you're just being you.
Yeah, but just for one additional reason than usual. This time I actually have some kind of excuse. Um, but that's all real world stuff. We need
We
to.
would.
You'd accept no shirt. Twitch wouldn't. Twitch would have a little bit more. Unless I were like working out. Like if we were doing a workout Ironsworn stream, then I could be like, hey, I'm going to sweat. But yeah,
Wait, that's a lot. Really?
I know there are people who do workout streams, yeah. And I've seen thumbnails anyway of just shirtless guys doing workouts. And like, that appears to be. Yeah, check it out. I don't have any in particular to recommend, but I know it's a thing. Um, but that's all real world stuff. We need to bridge our way back into the Ironlands. Blink might actually remember more about what happened last time than I did. It already reminded me of something. So why don't
Yeah.
you give us a little bit of a recap? Where are we leaving off? Where are we
So
jumping back in?
we left off just leaving those mysterious elf infested.
Elf infested. I like the idea of their own place of living being infested with them. Just like, yeah, you know that elven fortress? Infested with elves. Just somebody get an elf bomb in there. That's ooh.
um, elf inhabited.
There it is. That's probably a better I word.
So we just left with Naya, I think, the actual Naya.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, back in. Well, Naya was always Naya. It was who was the other one? The body switch was. Hold on, I can.
Dimitri or something.
Not Dimitri.
Deontay.
Hold on, I always have to scroll back through. Well, there was Kinara and Ditani.
Oh, Ditani.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was Ditani who was switched with Kinara, and they'd been switched back. Yeah. The real Ditani. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah. So, right, that's right. Naya had nothing to do with switched bodies. But Naya finally was able to go with us so that we can do our ritual so that Flint can leave my necklace because
Yeah.
it's been there forever and I'm sure he's sick of it by now.
You know, it's got a little bit of a hominess to it. I've put in some like shag carpeting. It's really comfy to just lounge on the floor.
Yeah, he's gonna be.
It's
He might get a little resistant there. He's been there for so long.
it's true, yeah. Flint likes his
So like, wait, I'm not ready.
70s retro spaces.
Why are you mushing your teeth against my toes, cat? My cat is weird.
Mine is currently out in the hallway, like being a fat cat and like pawing at my work. I keep the pet food inside my workshop just so that they can't get at it, and he's just like lounged in front of the door, like pawing underneath the door. He's just like, I wanted more food.
Give me. I need kibbles. Kibbles.
Hey, Marinetta Jones, welcome. Yeah, this is a regular co-op adventure that we do in a game called Ironsworn, which, since I haven't mentioned it yet, and I always like to do so, is a completely free RPG available at ironswornrpg.com. The really cool thing about it, among various things, but kind of the real thing that'll sink its hooks into you is that It is playable entirely with no prep, no GM, and by yourself. We're obviously playing it together, which you can do that as well. But yeah, you can play this 100% just by yourself right now with no prep or anything. I've done it. It works out really well. It's a lot of fun. So perfect for quarantine. But you can also play it more traditionally and like this, where nobody's really GM. We just kind of co-author the world. You'll see how that works as we move forward. Again, available at ironswornrpg.com. And if you really like it, there is a paid supplement called Delve that expands on some cool stuff that we're using a little bit of it. Anyhow, why don't we make the journey into actually playing? Come on, die rolls, pop on up, pop on up. There they are. I mean, there's the previous ones. So yeah, you were in the process of leaving the forest with Naya in tow. And we were talking before the break. Oh, one more thing before we get started. Actually, let me bring it back up to the big view so they'll be able to see this well. We were talking right before we went live about the change that happened last time. You had to make a deal as part of as part of this getting Titani and Kinara switched back. You wound up kind of having to question the Queen of the Wisps.
That was kind of a one-sided deal, though.
Yeah, like the Queen of the Wisps undid a decision that she had made before, but kind of as a like bearing the mark of having questioned her wisdom. We talked about how there was like a wisp wound up kind of like going into your body and altering you in a way that we haven't really seen yet, and you had put some thought into what that might look like. I believe you have a picture.
So how I see it is, I imagine we, after traveling a little while, we make camp somewhere. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning, and something doesn't feel quite right.
Your head's just like a little sore.
My head's a little heavier than usual, and just a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what is going on? And it feels a little sore too. And she's like, what? So I reach up, and there's this hard, stiff. Oh my God, they're antlers. Oh my God.
Now, do you think when you wake up they're like full on antlers, or they're like starting to bud?
I think it's just short antlers, and I don't think they're like gonna grow anymore. They got to a certain point. They're just enough where they're annoying. Actually, I can show you a picture.
Yeah. Well, show us what you got here.
Let me just get the image.
You gotta be careful when sharing your screen so you don't show us all your porn and like lit erotica.
Oh, did you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Oh, all my porn, just my slew of porn, just splattered everywhere in no order whatsoever.
And just for
so there's an image of what Grae would look like, and that's actually I've never really shown anyone what I thought of Grae looking like, but there she is.
Hold on,
Grae,
for the purposes,
but now with antlers.
For the purposes of those watching on YouTube, let me pull this up real quick. Here's the picture that she shared. So yeah, little short antlers like that.
Yeah. So wakes up, discovers those. She hasn't seen them yet. Maybe she takes her sword and like looks in the reflection of the sword.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
She's like, what is it? What is it?
Now, as another reminder, we had the whole like the Fae obviously don't like iron, and that's an iron sword. Is there any kind of reaction by like when you get the iron that close to the antlers, or is that removed enough that it doesn't?
I don't think it affects the antlers. I think it's just kind of just like a little, haha, I'm better than you, kind of, farewell parting gift.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's kind of like an expression of her power, being like, I can do this to you. And it's kind of an implication of like, I could do more if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then also, I think just the recognition that, regular people, there are going to be people that are going to react poorly to this, just because unless unless you can successfully hide them, like it will make you stand out. And as an outsider and weird and people that are less okay with like magic and certainly like elf kind of magic and stuff, there may be some bad reactions to this, but certainly not going to be like every single person from now on is just like kill her. Like it'll just be on the table. It's like one of the ways things could go badly now, as we know. Like some people will just react poorly to it.
Kill the she elk.
Yeah,
But,
the she elk. Yeah.
but,
So
yeah, so it's inconvenient for me. I can't wear hats now, and I can't wear a helmet.
You'd have to have very custom made haberdashery.
Yeah. And it gets caught in things because I'm not used to it.
Oh yeah, especially now. Like it's getting caught on branches like all the time. Like
right.
It's like the opposite of like when cats have their whiskers trimmed. It's like you now have something longer that you're not used to, and it's just, or I guess it's more like a dog with a cone around their neck where you're just like always bumping into things, and just like, oh my god, what the fuck?
God damn it!
It's one of those things that reminds you just how much. It's like, yeah, you'd think that you know how much space you occupy and can get around with your eyes so well, but it's just like you get so used to how much space you occupy just from memory.
Yeah. So Grae is not happy about these animals.
So yeah, I think that's where we come in this session, is just starting in with all of that, and you just getting caught on branches, and like there's probably a little bit of Naya like just coming like, here, let me get that for you, as you're like getting it, just like you're getting it more stuck, especially because your edge as well, like you're not very nimble, so all the more I imagine
exactly.
it's hard for you to get yourself freed.
She may be good with a sword, kind of, but she's klutzy.
Yeah. And we, of course, have the device we talked about last time, the pipes that will help you get out of the forest. Like, navigate the forest without it shifting around you. So, getting out of here, I don't think it's going to require any other roll, especially because you've got Naya with you. Like, between the two of you and the pipes, this should not be a challenge. So my question to you is, you get back to the road easily enough. What would you like to do from there? As a reminder of the various things kind of going on, both for you and the audience. Things that we talked about in the area. Obviously, the main drive has been collecting the ingredients to get Flint back, of which we're missing the blood of a beast of burden and some gold. Those are the two outstanding things. Also, things of note while in the area. I know that we had, like last time, you had switched back Kanara and Datani, and in theory, Kanara might be like imprisoned in a bandit camp nearby. Which would be the...
I forget. Did we say we wanted to find...
Oh, I mean, that's all up to you. It's just more of a reminder, just so that you didn't... Like, if you wanted to do it, that you could. I just wanted to make sure it didn't just get forgotten as a possibility.
What I never
But you certainly don't have to. Yeah, so you don't have gold, you don't have the blood of a beast of burden. But, I'm going to throw this out there. If this is a whole bandit camp kind of town situation... They may need beasts of burden for, like, to keep a community going. May be able to get two beasts of birds with one stone.
I forget. Are we supposed to kill the beast of burden? I think that's what the...
Pretty sure, yeah.
Oracle rolled was we were supposed to...
I think it was... I know it was supposed to be the blood of a beast of burden, and we may well have determined it was enough blood that, like, that beast is going to die. It's not just going to be, like, take a blood sample. Plus, the way people live these days, I don't know that we have the precise enough technology to do a lot of just like, let me get some blood from the beast very safely. But yeah.
Seems so unnecessary, though, especially when we're putting Flint in a body that's already alive. But I don't know. It's
all part of the magic sacrifices.
I'm not the one who made the... Yeah, I'm not the one who made this.
Magic is weird and symbolic.
Yeah. Thornberry? No, I can't kill Thornberry.
I was gonna say you could. If you wanted a quick way right now, you indeed, right there on your sheet, you have a beast of burden, a mighty one at that, would definitely qualify.
I told Holmick I'd bring Thornberry home safe.
It's true. I had never thought of that option, but you are 100% right that Thornberry would be just like a... Like, if for some reason it were like the clock were ticking and you were out of time and you had everything except the beast of burden, you do have one. I had never thought about that.
My horse is not up for offers for rituals.
Yeah. Well, then it sounds like you're gonna need another one.
Okay. So I think that's. I think our next goal is to find a town or a group of people, preferably a town, because yeah,
Right.
we're gonna need more opportunity. And the more people there are, the more opportunities.
Yeah, and most ideally, like if
Find the next city or town.
yeah, if we can get a place that has both, beasts of burden and a and some amount of gold, which again, part of the reason why that's been tricky is because it's not really generally used for just like purchase and trade. Like people don't use it as a currency. It's just used in like jewelry purpose. Like it looks pretty, so some people use it for that, but it hasn't yet been really commodified because there's just not much in the way of like that kind of economy. So it's not as simple as just like, well, I mean, if they do any kind of trade, obviously somebody has gold. I'll just sell them a thing. We got to get a little bit more special. You're gonna want like a jeweler or something, or somebody who has fancy jewelry. So you want a town then? I mean, my first question for you: does that bandit camp qualify? Because that would be the closest one that we know of. Otherwise, we're gonna have to look around a little bit.
I don't know if I want to risk it with the bandits.
Okay.
I think I want to.
Totally fair.
Yeah, I feel like I'd run into trouble.
So my guess is the plan is like continue along the road towards the obelisks, and then just whatever town we find. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that then. Let's start off with a continuing this journey to the obelisk, and undertake a journey.
Sounds good.
All right. Open you up here. Just need to get a thing available. All right, so we are going to make the undertake a journey move. There it is. We're going to be using your wits. I don't believe there's anything. No reason to have a bond or anything like that. Just regular thing, but your asset might come into play. Which, as a reminder, as a wayfinder, if you burn your momentum to improve your result, you'll envision how you reorient yourself, and then you get to take +2 momentum after you reset. So, with your momentum the way it is right now, it would help recover a lot of what you'd have to spend to use it. Anyway, let's see what happens. Let's get the session started with our first roll. Okay, a weak hit, and not one you could improve with momentum anyway. As a reminder, if this is your first time watching, the way this works is we compare that action score down there, which is a d6 modified by whatever stat we're using, and we say, is that higher than that first challenge die down there? Yes, it is. Is it higher than that second challenge die down there? No, it's not. So since it's higher than one but not the other, it's a weak hit. If it were higher than both of them individually, it would be a strong hit. If it's not higher than any of them, then it's a miss. So quick rundown on the base rule of the game. 21 sessions in. If you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you figured that out a long time ago. But a weak hit, I believe that means that you're going to make some progress, but it's going to cost you some supply, and that is exactly it. I'm starting to actually remember the consequences of these moves. So yeah, you'll make one progress along the way, which we could consider a town along the way. We talked about that before, how the journey to the obelisk was probably just going to be like towns and other kind of landmarks along the way. Where is... Alright, that is there. Ba-boop. So you make one progress, and if you would like this to be a town, then we can totally make this landmark a town. How about, let's ask the Oracle to get some ideas about, like, what kind of place this is. I don't want to just automatically say that it's the perfect type of place for you, but we'll find out together. So, let's get some location descriptors. Also, let's get a settlement name roll, which will help us figure out, like, it's going to give us, like, a type of thing this town is named after. A feature of the landscape. Envision what it is, what makes it unusual or distinctive. So we're going to keep that in mind as we figure out more about this town. There's something in the landscape that's kind of distinctive, and the town is named after it. And as for the descriptor of the place, it's wide. That's sounding good. If we want like an agrarian place that would need beasts of burden, being wide open sounds like it might have big fields and stuff.
Oh,
So that's a good one.
yeah.
Um,
Fields of gold.
withered, which would be interesting. So it sounds like they're having a bit of a famine right now, and like, but
Yeah.
that could also mean their beasts of burden aren't so necessary at the moment because there's nothing to grow. Like there's nothing. There's such a blight.
Oh, yeah.
And let's get one more. Blocked. Okay, I like the. This is particularly because of real life right now. This is giving me such images of like quarantine right now, like a place where like something is wrong with this place, and they're like trying to either I don't know if they're trying to block out the outside world from entering, or if they're just trying to like
Or-
keep themselves from spilling out into the outside world. But somehow this place is either that or maybe that's part of the what if that's part of the landscape? Like what if the problem here is that there was like a big like rock slide or something, and like it was in like a box canyon or something, and so now the whole town is just like trapped in. Granted, we had wide as a descriptor, but it could be something like that, like something shifted in the landscape, and now they're just like trapped in,
Yeah.
which
I
could
don't
be
know, 'cause
interesting.
we had that flood with the last, or with one of the cities.
We did.
What?
We've got. Let's all remember that we've. This whole place is kind of like winter-coated landscape right now, so it certainly could be a heavy snowfall or something. Like it could just be as simple as that. Like it's not like full-on blocked, like it's impossible to get through so much as just like there is some thick fucking snow that like just is utter like 10 feet high, like covering the snow to get through. So it's just like really slow going if you were to try and get there, and like you probably
Okay, yeah, I kind of like that. Like how, like as we're traveling,
it
the
just
snow's
gets
getting deeper and
yeah.
deeper, and it's just like above our heads, and we see the town up ahead, but we are having the hardest time getting to it. I think I like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Let's go with that. And I
I've
like
had
the
a
idea
winter
that
like
it.
that.
Yeah, I also like the idea that like and it's still snowing like heavily in
Yeah.
the area. Like it's already this high, but like you can the large gusts of wind whistling these like thick snowflakes that like go whistling by your face fast enough that it almost kind of stings.
Yeah.
And like just so heavy, even the parts that aren't covered in snow are just hard to see through. Like you can barely make out flickering of lights ahead that you assume has got to be torches of the town. Um,
Little icicles start forming in my antlers. Like I don't
yeah,
know how
exactly. Um, so like it's only just going to keep
they're
getting worse.
getting heavier, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah. Um, I just want to figure out a little bit more about what is withered about the place. Is it just like maybe maybe it's just been like perpetually snowing here ever since like the obelisks started glowing. Like the weather has just gotten weird, and like it's just been snowing ever since, getting heavier and heavier, and like it's had some opportunity, and there's like I feel like it's been long enough. Like people have to try and tend to it, but this far out they just like can't, and maybe it's withered because just so many of the places are just like they just can't hold up to like 5 feet of snow on the roof. Things are caving in.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's a poor town too. Like they just
Certainly at this
don't have a
point.
lot of resources, and yeah. Uh,
So let's
what
get a name for this
about?
place. Like what?
So we said fields. We said it was an open
Yeah, it's wide open. So I feel like
area.
it used to be like wide plains that were well suited for agriculture until all of the snow came down. So like maybe that's what's most prominent is just the fact that it's it's so flat and wide. Though our oracle did say envision what makes it unusual or distinctive. So I want to give it a little bit of a twist on like something about that the wide openness that's distinctive, or just some other feature
It
that's
could
in
just
there.
be that it's wide that makes it distinctive. I don't know. Hmm.
There could also be just There could just be something like in all of the wideness. There's like this one prominent feature. Um,
Maybe there's this really huge tree in the
okay.
center of the town. Maybe the town's built around a tree,
All right.
but everything else is like
Yeah.
flat.
And we certainly know that we're not far from where we had this just utterly gigantic forest that the elves
Yeah.
had. So, like, big trees are
It's-
certainly possible. Now, granted, not nearly that big, because we talked about how that was so unusual for that forest and, like, how they shouldn't possibly be able to get that tall, but they did.
Can it be just a giant pine
Yeah.
and covered in snow?
And, like, it's just one. Like, just. There's no other smaller trees around it. It's just this one tree. Um, yeah. I like that. So it would be named after that. It's making me think of how in Back to the Future there's like Twin Pines Mall and then he hits the tree and then it's Lone Pine Mall. Um, yeah, when he goes back.
um, yeah, I like that. And it's unusually big, but not as big as the.
If they're under, if the town is built underneath the tree, what about like Pine's Shadow or something like that? Because it's just like this huge
Yeah.
canopy. So
Which would make it seem weirder too. 'Cause
yeah,
the shadow would make it unique, Pine Shadow, because it really would be a bright place other than that.
yeah. So yeah, there we go. We have the town of Pine's Shadow.
Pine Shadow.
And I think like the lucky people who were here earlier got to kind of like use kind of like the tree as backing. Like there's some amount of verticality, a little bit. Like some of the like larger buildings that are like 2 or 3 stories are because they're like built against this big tree. But then like very quickly things get more simple for most everybody who's not doesn't have the privilege of being just like in the center of the town.
Yeah.
But maybe some of their more prominent buildings are a little bit larger.
Yeah. I'm sure the tree is kind of like honored in a
Or-
way too. Like it's the.
Or maybe it's instead of just like build it, maybe there's like a defensible thing there. Like in case people were to attack, they've got like a little bit of a stronghold, kind of built against slash slightly into the tree, um, just
Wait,
as a
how
way.
big are we thinking? How wide around is this tree?
Oh, nothing like the redwoods. I didn't mean that. I don't think there's like the whole town like hides inside the tree, but like there's some stuff kind of built up around the side so they can just get up high and like have a little bit of
Okay.
protection from
Yeah,
people
I'm
around.
trying to envision how big this tree is.
Oh, why don't we ask the Oracle? Let's so
Because I envision it towering over the town. Like,
Yeah.
just really. Almost dwarfing it.
certainly if the place is called Pine Shadow, I think that it would take it. Sure, why don't we have this be another one of those ones? Like it's probably not as tall as like the redwood style trees that we had in the forest that we just left behind, but it wouldn't feel
Yeah.
completely out of place there. It's just not like on that scale. It would be one of the shorter trees there.
Yeah.
But to anybody outside of that forest is just huge and would be like to a modern eye would probably be the type of thing you'd stop and get your picture taken by it. Like
Yeah.
this place, and maybe they've done like a lot of like I envision. You know how like so in Animal Kingdom in Disney World they've got like the world tree that's got like all the various animal shapes carved into it. I like the image of that being like they've got like kind of like almost like the town's history like carved into the tree and like sculpted into it.
Yeah, maybe like a couple of famous leaders are carved.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see that.
All sorts of rich history here that we'll spend like 5 minutes in this town and like just never touch it again. But they have a rich culture. So
I'm gonna need a souvenir. I'll take one of the pine needles that fell from the.
well, I'm sure there's plenty right now. So yeah, that is up ahead as you utterly trudge through the snow. How do you like? How's Thornberry doing now? Thornberry's at least a mighty horse. So if you encourage him on, like he'll keep going. But this is tough for a beast like that to wade through this snow that's like over your head.
He definitely struggles, and by the time it's getting to be over our heads, we can't. We're hacking our way through it because
Yeah.
it's so thick. that
Unless we do the
I
classic, like,
imagine,
unless Naya's doing the Legolas thing and just like, do, just walking along the top of it, lightly as ever, but...
yeah, maybe he's kind of like gliding along. He's like, come on, like,
Yeah, I
go.
think we'd definitely go with the kind of trope of, like, the Naya is certainly not having as big of an issue with it as you and certainly Thornberry are. Um,
So I think maybe this is an opportunity where Grae uses her hands again, because I imagine the power that she has is like, oh,
yeah,
like
knocked over an empty
he,
bottle, sorry.
and she wanted to use what she learned from one of the elves, I think.
Yeah. Also, I forgot. I
So
was supposed to mark your supply down when we did that
uh,
on text. I'm doing that now. Which makes sense if this snow is this deep, why it would be costing you supply. Like, just, it would be a pain in the ass to travel through this. It makes perfect sense. Sorry, so you wanted to use your hands. What were you, what was your idea?
I guess kind of melting the snow as I'm trying to get through it.
Okay.
See if that works. But
Yeah, give you an easier time. Now, in theory, like, I think we can just say that it happened, because, like, you didn't miss or anything. Like, there's nothing, in theory, like, you reached the landmark of the town. Like, we don't need to make you do any other rolls to get there, just because, like,
okay,
obviously anytime you roll, that's putting your character at risk of, like, something really bad happening, and, like,
true.
you've
Yeah.
already earned the right to get to that town. So why don't we just say that that's the flavor? Like, you're able to do that a little bit.
Okay, yeah, yeah. It
Just
was
kind
just
of
a struggle.
easing the way along, and maybe that's part of why your supply weekend is like, it just makes you so hungry to have to do that for so long. Like, it's really takes it out of you. Like, you just eating more and drinking more, and but yeah, you kind of carve a bit of a path through the snow.
So I imagine these townspeople aren't gonna really take well to a naked elf. I
Oh
can imagine.
yeah, completely naked. Wow,
So
all the more surprising that they do, like, they somehow are just fine with that despite the cold.
yeah, I think as I'm walking, I say to Naya, so Naya, I have this burning question. How are
Yes.
you not cold right now?
There's a magic that flows through us all. And those who are more in tune with the world's magic are warmed by it. Perhaps in time you will find it warms you as well. But those who completely accept the world and the magic that it gives understand that cold is just a part of it, and it's just as our bodies are attuned to whatever the world offers.
Interesting.
Hot, cold, it's all nature.
Um, I envy
I
your
actually want to know
ability.
whether or not Naya is full of shit and is just fucking freezing right now. I want to roll an oracle to determine, like,
But
can elves really do that, or are they just, like, stubborn and are just, like, not showing how cold they are?
maybe he was protected in the forest from some spell, but out
Exactly.
here.
That's what I'm wondering. Is, like, that may have been true before, but out on the open road, is Naya actually doing okay? I'm putting this at 50-50. Let's find out. Are elves just fine in the cold wherever, or was that more of an in-town thing for them? No. Naya is full of shit. And is fucking freezing right now. Does not want to admit to it. And probably there's
But
probably a
I
little
buy
bit
it.
there's probably a little bit of placebo effect type thing going, where Naya is so used to being okay from the cold because of being in town that, like, doesn't really notice yet that, like, just, like, believes that it's still working and that the magic is keeping them warm, but it's not. And over time, it's probably starting to finally hit, like, no, it's not working. I am feeling fucking cold, but
We
just won't live up
could.
to it, or won't own up to it. Now, I think that there's still, like, something that's helping keep them, like, more resistant. Like, obviously, they're not freezing to death, because, they haven't. But I think that they probably still have at least somewhat more resistance than a human being, just to make sense of that. Because otherwise, like, they would have
Yeah.
died hours ago.
Yeah. Um.
But it's no longer just like, doesn't bother me.
Okay. Well, because we don't know how these people are going to react to you might want to cover your ears. We gotta get you covered up.
I like that it's like, hey, here, this naked person. Cover those ears. Those are... We gotta make sure that's covered. Who knows how these humans are gonna react? They'll be like, an elf! Oh, now it's just a naked person. That's fine. Just wandering around in this frigid cold. Cover my ears? Are you...
Yeah. Your ears and, the rest of you.
I think this would indeed require some, like, probably convincing Naya to go along with that. That's a weird thing. Like, that's so culturally ingrained. So let's see. I guess is it an important enough thing to you to indeed like put it on the line and try and compel Naya to do this, or if you get resistance, or you just be like, yeah, it doesn't matter, whatever.
I really want to compel him.
Okay.
I really, because we don't know these people at all.
All right, then let's do a roll then.
I'm like, Naya, if you're with me,
Yeah.
you're.
Well, because that's the alternative as well. Is depending on how this goes, it might just be a like maybe you don't go into town sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. It sounds like you were just trying the friendly approach with this. So let's use your big ol' heart to compel Naya back. Look, you gotta wear clothes. Also, you'll stop shivering, you idiot. Okay, a weak hit. So this is one where Naya's gonna want something in return.
No.
It's like, well, give me your clothes. You go naked. No, it's not gonna be that.
All I have right now, I could give you my cloak. I imagine I have a cloak.
Well, it doesn't have to be literally giving something. It's more just like you like conceptually, you owe them something. Like
maybe, maybe he's like, fine, but later, you have to dress like me, and I get to say, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that.
We can use some oracles to get some ideas about like what sort of thing would be important tonight, because like they're already so in Flint's den and everything, and like we've got the major thing, and if they're just planning on doing this, I'm trying to think of like how much they would really like, what's left for somebody who's basically like resigned to die in a sense. Like we know they're not gonna die, but in a sense they're kind of like, I'm just doing my last shit here. So what do they need? Let's use an oracle to help get some ideas. So I'm going to roll the action and theme oracles to see if either one of them or the combination of them helps inspire something. So we have surrender and risk.
I think it is surrendering my clothes.
Yeah, it could be as simple as that. It could be almost like more of a friendly thing where it's just like it's like I need you to fully understand like what it's like. I'll do it, but because I want you to understand like what you're asking of me at some point.
Yeah, maybe it's really hard for him, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
For him.
So like they ask that at some point when they're done with this town, they're going to want you to experience what you're putting them through, because it's basically like the opposite. Yeah, so it's not like a major thing or anything, but just kind of like it'll be a bonding moment later, really, where it's like this way you'll fully understand what it's like. Now the question is, when they ask you to do this, I feel like it would be a little too easy to ask you to do it just like out in the open, out in nowhere.
Maybe it's until we get a kind of gauge on what the town is like. So like, we don't know if they're hostile or not, or if they're really like accepting of other cultures, and so it's just until we find out what these people are like, Naya. We can ask once we're there, and if they say yes, and you can take the clothes back off. How about that?
Okay. I assume you have something spare? Which I imagine, yeah, you'd probably have some kind
I
of
take
spare clothes or something.
I take a blanket off of that was draped over Thornberry.
Oh, just like a saddle blanket or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Just gonna
it's
like
big enough
just
where it can really cloak
just
him. And
well, keep in mind that elves are like several feet taller than humans in the we established. Um, so even if that were
maybe
true on a
he just sorry,
sorry, what are you saying?
maybe he just drapes it around his waist. Uh,
Oh, it just like makes
if
a
it's
to
not,
use like a skirt, kind of.
yeah, because that's acceptable. I mean, he
Okay.
doesn't have any junk there
Right.
that we
Yeah, we established
see,
that if there's any kind of elf gender disparity, that it's not something that is immediately apparent to humans anyway.
but still, it would confuse people if they've never seen it before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, honestly, to a degree. Now just remember, you were talking about covering the ears as well. Like in terms of elves, like given how much taller and everything, like this is going to be a sight regardless. You might be able to play them off as you like even if you hit the ears and wore clothes, you might be able to play them off as just a really huge human. But they're going to stand out no matter what.
yeah. So just yeah, cover the ears, cover the groin area as much as you can, and we'll find out what these people are like.
Maybe you
So
had like a hat that you no longer can really wear because of the antlers. That
oh yeah, good
just
thinking.
like pull that down low over some ears.
Yeah,
So yeah, and then just like a tied around saddle blanket. Like they're not gonna look like they're
yeah,
wearing clothes so much as you found a stranger who was like making do and like wearing just whatever they found. Like they're
yeah.
clearly
We're
not
gonna
wearing clothes. They're clothed. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to come up with some kind of excuse. If they are hostile, then I gotta come up with something like, oh, he's not from around here.
Well, they'll know that much. Yeah, no shit. We've never seen him.
right,
Never,
right.
never seen that guy before. So
You know,
yeah,
he's. I don't know what the excuse would be, but we gotta come up with something.
but you make your way to the town, and you've got Naya clothed, in a sense. Um, Naya, who is, you know, head and shoulders and probably a little bit then some, are sticking up above the snowfall. Um, but you would reach the border of this town, which I don't want to. I don't think they'd have like a wall or anything. Like I want to. I don't. Particularly because this is like we talked about it being so wide and in a sense wide open, um, and so much would ordinarily be like I think even walking through would ordinarily be their fields,
Mm.
and so like they wouldn't want people to have to go in and out through the wall all the time. Their main defense is just going up into the tree if necessary. So I think there's just kind of like eventually you're just in buildings. They just kind of start. There's no just like guard posted around or thing like that. I think they're like watch people up in the trees that could sound an alarm if necessary, but y'all don't seem alarm worthy.
I thought there was only one tree though.
Or tree is what I meant. The branches.
Oh, okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
there. I think there are watch people up in
Oh, I
there,
like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
and they probably have like a bell or something that, or various branches have bells. There are alarms that can be raised.
But it's just two of us in horse.
Yeah, nobody is doing that. You are not worthy of an. You're not an army incoming, or band of bandits or anything.
Yeah.
So let's see. How would people react? Let's get another oracle in here, and this one will just be one of the ones where we ask a question and determine the answer randomly. So like, nothing in this town's description gave us a reason to think that they'd necessarily be hostile. So I would put it as unlikely if we just asked the question like, is this town going to be hostile to people wandering in? With one of them being potentially, obviously, an elf. Depending on how well you know elves, you might be able to just put that together.
Right.
So let's see. Are they hostile? No. They're not just generally hostile. So I think, yeah, you probably just have the ability to just kind of wander in, and most people at this point are just sheltering in place from the snowfall. And maybe there's maybe by the tree itself, we've got, like, there's kind of like an overhang area that's a little bit more, like, there's not as much snow on the ground there, obviously, where there's just, like, a community, like, big iron kettle or something, where they've got just, like, everybody huddled around for just warmth and, like, a big stew or something. That smells actually pretty good. Like, it's well made, and, like, I think they've probably got, like with all their agriculture and everything, I like to imagine they've actually got rich spices, and like the cooking here is probably better than you've had in a lot of places, or you would,
Yeah.
like, if you were to taste it. It's actually really, like, complex, because they grew a lot of ingredients, but they're currently running through them, and like spices they got plenty of, so like they can still spice things, but they're, trying to take it easy on things like grain or anything else that they're working through their stores. Oh, you know what? I
Okay.
like the idea of, like, there being a part of the tree. Like, I keep imagining the tree is almost like a grain silo. Like, there's some place where, like, all of the, there's there's a story in the Old Testament about, like, Joseph protecting Egypt and warning them that there's going to be this famine for like 7 years or something like that, and they had just, they spent, like, all this time, like, stocking up this, like, huge area with all their food, and then they were able to eat through that during the famine. I imagine maybe they had a similar thing going here, where, like, they were pretty well prepared for it, either because they were just always preparing and, like, had that kind of mindset of, like, you just never know when you need to be ready, or maybe somebody
Yeah.
had an idea that it was coming for one reason or another. Like, I like the idea that the town was prepared, but they know
Yeah.
they need to, like, really ration through what they've got.
Yeah. So they're very agriculture savvy, and
Yeah, they knew a blight was coming, or the cold snap, and they probably didn't have any idea it was going to be this prolonged. Just like, no, like, it literally never stops snowing. Um, but I also imagine, given how agricultural they are, they might be savvy enough to have people that are starting to get the idea of, like, we do have things that are more resistant to the cold. Like, we could do things like potatoes, or, like, those can deal with cold, right? I as a DM I have, like, the least green thumb there is, but I'm pretty sure potatoes are a hardy, like, you could throw it in snow kind of vegetable.
yeah, a lot of this they're kind of grateful that it's cold because they can store it
Yeah, so
more easily.
yeah, so maybe they have, like a potato soup going, with, like, some,
Wait, like a
like,
communal tomato?
yeah, a potato, like a huge cauldron
Wait,
filled
how
with.
big is this town?
Let's find out.
Because I'm like, if it's small enough, I could see them having like maybe a central cauldron near the
Yeah,
tree or something. Maybe.
that's what I was imagining. Um, Keeping in mind that, like, very few places really get especially big. Like, we had that one place that we described as a city, which was, like, very strange for being that big. Most
Yeah.
settlements are just small settlements.
Okay.
So I would put it as, like, likely, and we'll find out, that there's, like, I don't know, fewer than 100 people here. Let's see. Are there fewer than 100 people here? Or, like, on the order of, like, 100 people? Yes. Okay. So
Oh, okay.
it's like 100 people here. Pretty small.
So envisioning it a little bit differently now.
I think the tree is huge.
Yeah.
The tree is very big, but the number of
The
people
amount
is,
of buildings around it, yeah.
yeah.
are less.
It's more
Okay.
like it would be what you would have as just, like, it's a trade stop along the road, and, like, there's a community that grew up around the idea that there is a convenient place to stop and trade goods. But that's about all it is. It's not likely ever going to be the bustling city. But they got this big tree, and they're able to grow enough to sustain themselves. And so, yeah, there's this big iron cauldron where they have got a hearty potato soup, with mixed in potato. Yeah, I think like potato and cheese. 'Cause they've got
Yum.
some like hard cheeses that they've made from.
Yeah, they have some cattle, some
Yeah,
cows,
exactly. Very agrarian.
goats.
Yeah. Oh yeah, some good goat cheese in there. Um,
Goat
but yeah,
cheese.
it's like a soup of various kind of like root vegetables, stuff that is hardier against the cold, and they might still be able to grow. Um, I still imagine that just because of like 10-foot high snows making it basically impossible to plow fields and stuff, like what they can grow is still a lot more limited, and they're working through their stores. But there might be some small area that they're like, it's like the community project. Like everybody works together to keep this patch like free from snow and like till so that they can keep something growing.
Mm,
Because they know if this goes on forever, their stores won't last forever.
yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's
So they're not hostile, and
yeah, they're currently just kind
they're
of gathered around
well,
the fire.
they're prepared. Okay, great. So
They've got like some pewter bowls and stuff.
I imagine they greet us in a friendly
Yeah,
manner.
yeah. If they're not hostile,
And
somebody
they've probably seen all kinds of people come through and
if
not
they're
thrown off
yeah, I mean,
by.
if they're a trade stop, which they basically are, like travelers would be a good thing. That's the lifeblood of this
Yeah.
community is keeping goods flowing in and out. So there's probably people that are more just like, oh shit, an out of towner, like we need to be on this. Like it's probably more immediately friendly and trying to get you into the community and be like, hey, hail traveler, like take a seat, let's help you. Like can we? They want your shit. Um, so yeah, you're probably more just like accosted by various people that are like trying to like escort the two of you over, and to take a seat by the fire and get you some and asking you questions like, are you hungry? Has the road been long? Do you need to prop up your feet? Are you looking for a place to stay? It's like a million questions all at once. Hard to keep track of them all. As you're being
Maybe
like
even pointing
almost
out Naya's. Okay.
yeah, oh,
That's
exactly. Like
interesting.
clearly, or just like clearly,
Do
whoever makes clothes in this town is just like, my God, you must be freezing from the cold. Clearly, you must you're in need of clothes. Can I help you with anything? I make all the yeah, just like everybody offering just all the things that you need, not as like for free, but they're just like all boasting that they make the thing and like you need their help.
Okay.
As you're being practically drugged to a spot by the fire.
All right.
And Naya as well.
Just
I think people are definitely marveling at Naya's height, though.
Yeah.
It's like, goodness
Wow.
gracious!
It's been a while since we've seen some
Yeah,
of your
yeah. I think
stuff.
I'd have to make you a little bit. I think I would have to make something custom made for one of your size. But
We don't have much. Well, who are we talking to? Is there?
I think
Do
it's
we need to roll an oracle?
might need to. I think right now it's almost like you scattered bread on the ground and a bunch of pigeons have come in like and are just all getting at it. Like it's not any one person at the moment. It's a lot of people kind of like tugging at you and bringing you into the fold. And all trying to be the one to get your attention first. It's like a group of paparazzi kind of.
Okay. So maybe I just turn to the person who's closest to me that's trying to get my attention and say, do you happen to have, because I already know they have beasts of burden, so I really want to figure out if they have gold in this town. Just ask them, do they have gold in this town? Just straight to the point.
Yeah, let's find out. So how do we if let's just do this as a gather information rather than ask the oracle about this. We're gonna do this as a gather information move, and your results on it will dictate how complicated that answer is. Rather than just always determine like yes or no. Yes, damn it, we got to move on. Like I'd rather it be like the results potentially being yes, but, you know, there's this complication with it. So we're going to do a gather information roll, which uses your wits, which are pretty good. Let's see. Another weak hit. We've had just a bunch of weak hits today, but yeah, hard not to. You rolled a maximum on one of the challenge dice.
You know what I forgot to mention?
What's that?
I was yelling at Naya to hide his ears and his nakedness, and
But
totally
your
forgot
antlers?
about my antlers. It'd be really funny if, like,
I think there's
I
a moment.
in at that risk.
Oh yeah. I think that there's because they're so new to you, you kind of almost forgot about them.
Yeah.
I think there is a moment where people are just so excited by a stranger and like that they're rushing you over, and like there's heavy snowfall that nobody notices at first, but then there's going to be that moment like once things settle down, people will be like, wait a minute, I totally didn't, I was so excited I didn't notice that before, but what the fuck.
Are those real?
Yeah. So let's see. You turn to somebody in the group and you ask them if there is any goals in this town. You get a weak hit, which is information complicates your quest or introduces a new danger. Imagine what you discover and take +1 momentum. So let's give you the momentum first.
Okay.
And let's find out what is the but on we have gold, but...
Not
What
a
is
lot.
it? I mean, at the very least, I feel like that's implied, but there should be a something more like not necessarily literally hazardous, but kind of what makes it complicated? The fact that they have gold. Is it maybe it's
only
like
the wealthy have it?
yeah?
Or
I was gonna say like
the-
there's it's maybe only held by like one particular individual. Like there's like a leader who has gold or something, and it's like used. It's kind of like he has like a gold crown, but like that's the mayor's crown or what, you know. It probably wouldn't literally be a crown, but like that's that sort of thing where it's like we got gold. The king wears it on his head, and so
Maybe
it's like important gold that's not just like it's just like I like the way it looks, but it's like symbolic and important to the town as part of their culture.
Because they're into trade, I imagine there is one person whose profession is solely in dealing with precious stones. And
There's certainly somebody who like an appraiser.
And so maybe that's the only person that has something like that.
Well, I don't know. I imagine that I don't know if the appraiser necessarily. Like, I think an appraiser would definitely be able to identify like and be good at recognizing a value of various stones and metals and stuff. I don't know if they would necessarily have it though. I don't know. We could go that route. I just definitely imagine it being more like in possession of like a leadership kind of position.
Yeah, of some higher up. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
which maybe in this town is like their job is also to appraise things. That could make a lot of sense if
It's a small town.
it's a small town that's so based on trade, their survival is based on making sure they get a good deal. Yeah. What if in this place the leadership quality is being good at appraising? Like that's what's most important to their lifeblood. I actually kind of like that. So yeah, there's like a person who's got like hanging from their collar. I don't think we see him in this moment, but like they have hanging from their collar like a jeweler's loop, and they've that would be the leader here. So whoever it is that. Also, we could roll with a slight complication being the finally noticing your antlers.
Yeah.
Which could be a separate thing. It's. I don't think it'll necessarily be like a complicated realization, but whoever it is you grab starts answering and saying, "Oh, the only person that I know of who wears gold would be our, let's see, what would they call the leader here? Do they have like a title for it? Maybe they just call him the appraiser.
The Grand Nagus. No, I don't know.
Yeah, the Grand Nagus. Oh God, no.
Maybe it's the Grand something though. We can take.
Yeah, we can take the Grand. I do not want it to be the leader of the Ferengi.
fine.
I see why your mind went there, but I hated the Ferengi episodes too much for that. I love the Ferengi, don't get me wrong. I think that there are a lot of cool stuff, and I loved Quark and Rom, and like they did some great stuff. Anytime that it went full Ferengi on the episode, though, it was too much for me.
Yeah, it got a little out of hand sometimes. But
I like the Ferengi as a side thing. But yeah, the Grand, I think it may just be the Grand Appraiser, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
The.
Who's also the leader.
Yeah, he like scratched his head a little bit, and is like looking down. The Grand Appraiser certainly holds a golden seal of off, and like looks up at your head afterwards, and is like, "You're He's like can't put to words how it's like he's trying to find a polite way to say it, but is coming up just like dead flat line, like and just like trails off while like trying to like halfway pointing to your antlers, but then like keeping from pointing, so it's like a gesture like that. Like
it makes me think that he's trying to think about something. I can't pull it out. And I'm just waiting.
And then like and then eventually
and then it hits me, I think. Oh
okay.
Yeah, don't worry about those.
I think he assumed I think his assumption would be that like they're impaled into your head or like either by some kind of accident or like your culture just like does that, and it's like some people do like scarification, some people do tattoos. Wherever you come from, you like surgically add antlers to your head. Is like that's the only thing that makes sense to him. It's like so it's just like did it hurt?
They're a little sore. I'll be honest.
We've never had people from wherever it is where are your people from? And he definitely means just like he thinks you're a human, just like which town.
Very
like,
far away.
You've been on the road a while then.
Yes.
Why are you looking for gold?
We're trying to.
I think it's somebody else just like puts a bowl of soup into your hands, who has they're running with the assumption it's like they suck up to you and they get you like all fed and staying here, and they'll get money or trade out of you later.
Yeah. It's.
So yeah, just a hot bowl of soup in your hands.
It's. I don't know if I want to say, because I don't want to worry these people. Like, I know they're friendly, but I don't want to worry them with like magical spells either.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just I really like gold. Just.
Well, everybody has their thing.
How about I say I've never had anything gold, because I really haven't.
Yeah.
And I've heard of its beauty and pliancy.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it's like you're kind of concealing the truth, and in a way it's like lying, but I also don't think anything about this moment is important enough that it warrants a roll. Like, you're not trying to convince them to do anything, or anything. He's not like, nothing hinges on like whether or not they believe you. It was just kind of, so it's fine. I don't think we need to be like, you rolling shadow. It's yeah, no need. There's no real danger to being found out here, so it's not important.
Okay, so yeah, I imagine they have seen lots of strange things. So
yeah, like everybody needs something.
It's for a ritual.
Everybody needs something. Ritual, yeah, very interesting. I think maybe when you say the word ritual, some ears perk up, because like I think there's people around here that are like hoping that if you know of rituals, maybe you know something about how to stop the snowfall. So there's like murmurs that happen at that word. So, ritual, and maybe the word gets around, and like indeed our Grand Appraiser kind of like steps forward. Let's get a description for this person. Get a better idea of who is the Grand Appraiser. They seem important enough to warrant like an actual like name and more of an identity than just like they're in the crowd. So I don't need to roll a character roll for them. We know that they're the leader here and they're an appraiser. Their goal, similarly, I've got a pretty good idea of that. I think their main goal would be, keep the community alive and, if possible, find a way to stop the snow. Those are the two most important things to them. So let's just get descriptors and a name. So we have attractive. Okay. Deceitful. And weak. That's an interesting combination.
Deceitful.
Apparently, we love rolling 25. Yeah.
Deceitful and weak.
Well, I mean, I don't think that deceitful is necessarily in a way that is mean this time. I think you can be deceitful in a giving kind of way. Because when I saw weak, what that made me think of was, what if what they're being deceitful about is like their own well-being, in terms of like they're sacrificing themselves a little bit too much for the town, and not taking enough for themselves. But like, because obviously they're in charge of, if they appraise everything, they're probably in charge of apportioning out who gets what, and they're not doing it in their own interest. They're doing it for the communal interest, but they're really shortchanging themselves. And so I think it's more of a benevolent deceitfulness. Not just that like they're always trying to pull one over on everybody else, and but that they are pretty good at lying, but they're probably looking a little bit more gaunt, and like they're trying to make the stores last longer than they're going to, and the way they're doing that is by not taking as much for themselves, and so they're looking, they're looking a little bit gaunt, but still like they're clearly attractive underneath it all. Like they're well taken care of, well groomed, like they've probably actually bathed recently. Like they've got a pretty smile. We should get a name and gender for this individual. Okay. So let's see, we've got Kulan. And let's do our standard he, she, they test. So in that order, what do we got? She. All right. So Kulan, she is very attractive, well kept, but is not taking care of her, like well kept by the community, not keeping herself very well. And I think these are things that we as players know more than, it's not like you immediately understand all these things as soon as you look at her, but you probably at least can tell like she's looking a little skinny, as compared to some of these other people here. Like I don't think there's a lot of like large individuals here just because they're rationing food, but I think most people are at least a little bit more like well-rounded than her. She's looking a little bit more bony. Okay. And what if I imagine her probably a little bit on the older side too, like.
Yeah, I'm imagining her like maybe in her 50s.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely graying.
Yeah.
Grae meets the Gray Lady. So yeah, Kulan has probably been the leader for a while then. Very well trusted despite being so deceitful. Or maybe she hasn't been the leader for a while, and who knows? So Kulan,
maybe she's taking up the slack for someone else who went away or passed away.
Exactly. You never, like the snows have been hard. So Kulan approaches you. I'm terrible at describing how people look or like how they're dressed or anything like that. I always want to do better to really help visualize. What is? Probably
some furs, like others in furs.
Furs definitely make some sense. I imagine that a lot of people are wearing that. Just maybe like a long kind of fur cloak. It's probably like probably white fur. It's got like I don't know what animal around here has the white fur, but just like this really soft looking. It's probably just made from a bunch of like Arctic foxes or something. Uh,
Yeah, maybe fox.
yeah, it's like this.
Rabbit.
Yeah, fox fur cloak, and like tightly wrapped around her. She walks up and says, "Ritual, do you say? Are you very well learned in rituals?"
I'm actually very new to learning rituals, but I'm very eager to learn. I have a book of spells.
And like, I think you say book of spells, and like, there's tears practically welling up in her eyes that she's like holding back. This is like it's like this ember of hope she's been waiting for a long time. Your book, does it have anything in it that could alter this storm? It's been going on for well over a year. The snows, they don't cease. It cannot be natural. Is there something that you can do about it? Is there anything in that book that can save our community?
Can we roll chances on whether I came across something like that when I was scouring through the book?
I imagine that we can. I'd put it as unlikely just because you're, not because it's not there necessarily, but because you would have been so focused on like a specific kind of thing that I don't know that you would have necessarily noted it, but we can still, we can determine that randomly. So let's ask the Oracle. So again, I think it's rated as unlikely just because you would have been more paying attention to stuff related to the specific ritual, but... But let's see. Have you come across anything that would be related to like changing the weather like that in Muko's book? No. Again, I don't think that it's because you're convinced it's not there so much as just you know that there's stuff in there you just never got to, but you haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not aware of any spell that alters the weather.
And he breathes a heavy sigh. It was too much to hope for. Well,
But I'll take a look and see if I can find something.
please do. Will you be staying here then?
For a short time, a very short time. We're just trying to replenish supplies and get the rest of the ingredients for this ritual. And in fact, if I do come across a spell that alters the weather, would we be able to get something in return?
You are certainly talking to the right person on this. We believe in a fair trade for all, and information has its own value as well. I think that we could definitely negotiate some terms. If you were to... I can tell you now that if you can stop this storm, that is worth... I can't even begin to put a price on what that would be worth to our community. But anything you get in that direction is worth something. We can do what we can.
Okay.
But please, enjoy the soup.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, I imagine so goals we have here are obviously like, as you're staying here, you want gold, you want a beast of burden, but it sounds like we've got a bit of an angle here where it's like, if you find this spell out for them and negotiate that as exchange for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we see if we can find that up for you?
Okay.
It sounded like you had another idea though. What were you saying?
No, I was just Yeah, no.
Okay.
Incomplete thought.
Alright, I like this, how like this kind of all came out randomly, but I like the idea that
Yeah.
like this book, this thing you have could definitely solve one of their problems and be a
Yeah, I never thought of that.
yeah, it just kind of came out. So all right, why don't we do this as I think with the way we did this before? Let's gather information from the book and
Okay.
find out if you can. You know, you're poring over this, you're studying it all. You know, they put you up in some place for the night. There's some place where the travelers are allowed to stay. Probably not a nice place. I think it's probably one of the places where the roof is like caving in, but like nobody else is living in it right now. So it's like if other places require payment of some sort, but we have free lodging as long as you don't mind. Like it's a little bit of shelter. You'll probably have to build your own fire, but hey, it'll protect you from the winds
That's
a little
fine.
bit. There's probably like some stuff just like draped over. Anyway, so you're like holed up in there, pouring over the book, got like a candle going or something, and let's see what you find. So I assume the question you're asking the book is basically like, you know, how could I end this snowfall?
Yeah, or altering weather.
Yeah. All right, let's see what information it has for you on that. Strong hit. This is the time to get it. Nicely done.
Like,
Yeah, so on a strong hit, let me pull it up. You discover something helpful and specific. The path you must follow or action you must take to make progress is made clear. Envision what you learn, ask the Oracle if unsure, and take +2 momentum. So your momentum is now up to 8. Now, here's where this gets tricky. We need to figure out, indeed, like, you get very specific, useful information. Like, there's something in here that could help with this spell. We need to figure out, or help with this weather through a spell. We need to find out what that is. Now, I don't think that's just like, oh, and then I can immediately do it. Like, it as well is going to be probably some kind of complicated ritual. But you could certainly give them, like, you learn the information of what is needed to do this and how to do this ritual. And who knows, maybe they have stuff that's necessary. So why don't we do kind of like what we did on the last ritual? Let's roll some oracles to get some themes and stuff and figure out, like, like before, magic is all symbolic and there's, chance and stuff, and you know the specific words from the book, but, like, there's some kind of components, materials that you'll need. Let's see what they are through some actions and themes. Let's get inspired again. All right, so the first one, and I don't know how many it'll be. Like before, we'll determine how many key components there are. I don't think this should be as complicated as bringing somebody back from the dead. That's that's a pretty lofty one, but I think there should at least be one key, like, important ingredient. Maybe indeed just the one. Let's see if we can find out what it is. So we have action and theme, bolster and balance. Something that bolsters balance, and that could be a more metaphorical balance. And if we can't make both the words work, we don't have to use both of them. But, like, these are our jumping off points. I like balance.
yeah, that's interesting.
Let's see what we can come up with that.
Maybe there's some kind of object that we're supposed to really concentrate on balancing while saying some kind of chant.
Oh, yeah.
Something not easily balanced, but
Yeah. I also like the idea that in theory we're trying to bring back balance to the weather. We are bolstering the balance of and so that's what it's about. It's about, like, kind of neutralizing things. So we've got so yeah, there's, like, this thing that has to be done maybe while balancing on top of something. But I like the idea of there being some important material that could be, somehow used up in this ritual that might also fit with that theme of bolstering balance. Though nothing is immediately coming to mind for me of, like, what kind of thing is a The only things that are coming to my mind are like things that are specific, like a well balanced knife or something like that that's been like made for balance. But I don't know that I love that especially.
Mhm.
But I think there might have to be something that is maybe it's just something that like a thing that you have to make out of a certain kind of material that is that's made with a perfect balance so that it can like rest on top of like a pin and be like spun around during this ritual in specific ways. Almost like a
Yeah, maybe
almost
you
like
have to say the chant before it stops spinning. So you
yeah,
really gotta spin it hard. You gotta make
yeah,
sure it doesn't fall.
yeah,
And let's figure out what material that
exactly.
this
Like
object we need to make.
was it? Yeah, what does it have to be made out of?
Maybe it's just like a perfectly balanced baton of sorts. It's gotta be made out of something.
Is there something that connects to weather in some way, or snow specifically? Like, can we?
Maybe it's just gotta be ice.
Oh, that could be interesting. Because it depends on what the weather you're trying to cancel out is, but because it's so much snow and ice. Yeah,
Yeah, we're trying to balance the winter, so
exactly. So to balance the
right now it's
winter,
out of control.
I like that. So you have to like perfectly make this like completely balanced icicle. Um, and then yeah, it's like you have to spin it while it's during the duration of this ritual. It has to be done beforehand. There's like a lot of words you have to say completely, and uh,
What if it has to be spun like on the edge of a knife or something?
wait, the edge or like the tip?
Or tip of
Yeah.
yeah.
I was trying to imagine how you spin it on the edge. I was like, that would be tricky.
Yeah.
Is
So
there
we would need
anything?
someone who's skilled in doing that and
Y-
can.
yeah, and is there anything that it costs like I always like the idea of magic using something up, and like ice is obviously all around us. Is there anything more I mean, I guess it really is just a weather spell, and it is only about like bringing things back to neutral. Like I don't think you could use this to like make a storm or something, but it would help bring things back to calm weather. Um, and in this case, it would specifically a calmer winter. So
Maybe we have to wait for the winds to die down too. Like maybe it has to
that's
be a calm point so that it doesn't like teeter. Or anything. So it has to be a certain point, and it's going to be particularly hard to find that right moment because it's so windy. Yeah. So maybe that we're
well. The only thing I like that idea. The only thing I have against it is just that since we've described this has been going on like a year, like I don't know if there ever is a time where it dies down. I think it's if anything, it's just constantly getting worse. So I think people
yeah,
could like shelter.
like
People could just shelter around it because there are high winds, but like I think they could just block it from it,
okay, yeah,
or just do it
maybe they
indoors.
get like big boards and it's gonna
Yeah.
have to be outside because it needs to be cold enough so
Yes,
the ice doesn't melt.
and it needs to be in. I think it needs to be outside as well, just so it can be in touch with like the weather.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would probably just like calm the area inside that hut. Um, so yeah, you come up with this big ritual that can help calm the weather.
I
Um,
actually imagine it being like a bigger baton, like maybe about
yeah.
10 feet and like
Oh, I think it's yeah. Even
4 inches
fashioning it to begin
thick,
with is
just
yeah,
really getting it to spin perfectly on top of.
yeah. And I do like that, and I think that it's yeah, just fashioning it to begin with is going to be really tricky. Just because it's indeed such a long piece of ice that has to be so perfectly balanced. Um, and it's not just about like making sure you put it on the exact middle, because I think that like on that long chunk of ice, you have to carve in like magic runic symbols and stuff that have different shapes. So like doing that
Uh,
is gonna like make things weirdly balanced, and so you have to like then shave off a little bit more on this part to offset that. So like it would take
and
a
we're
very skilled hand at sculpture, which we already talked about how they somebody's been sculpting this tree. So clearly they have somebody who really knows what they're doing. Um,
okay. Yeah, let's find out. So I read through this spell
yeah,
and then report back to Kulan and ask, do you have a sculptor in this town? Who sculpted that tree? Who did the carvings on that tree?
Let's find out if that person is still alive or not. I think it's likely. But it would be
that still would have been passed down.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Like somebody or other knows. I don't know if it's important whether the exact person is alive. Somebody is keeping it up, and no doubt if you help them stop this weather, that is definitely getting added to their like history tree, their history tree, or history. I don't know.
History.
Yeah, their history. There we go. That's way cleaner. The history. It'll get added to that as an important event in their heritage. So let's see. Who do they? This is basically a gather information role. So let's see. Who carved it? Now, if this goes poorly, it's obviously like they want to help you. They so it's not going to be like, oh, I'm not telling you. But if this goes really poorly, it's going to be very complicated. There's no version of this where they just don't tell you, where she just doesn't tell you. Kulan wants you to have this info. She knows what you're up to. But let's see. Another strong hit. Cool. So it's not even all that complicated of an answer. They've got a sculptor in town who's got also I think the sculptor's got an apprentice, and so there's always a sculptor and an apprentice, and they're passing it down, and their job, among other things, like they do other works, and I think they probably are also just like a fine builder. So they help out around town, but one of the most important duties is to keep the history. And their name is, let's see. We have Emmeline. Wait, didn't we already have an Emmeline once? I feel like we did a long time ago. I know, a long time ago. I think we had an Emmeline. Fuck it, doesn't matter. More than one person can have that name. And if we can't remember who Emmeline is anyway, then
if there can be more than one John, there can be more than one.
Exactly. I feel like we did a long time ago. But we have an Emmeline.
Okay.
And
Emmeline.
So yeah, she's the sculptor.
Is it a she? He?
I don't know. That always read to me more as a female name, but I guess we can figure that out. Let's see.
I don't know. We've had some gender bending.
That's true.
Names.
We have. Let's do the usual roll. Yeah, that's a guy.
Oh, okay.
Emmeline.
Oh, dude, no.
Emmeline's a guy, and
right.
and yeah, he's got an area. Probably has a shop, or like where all of the stuff is kept is probably one of those buildings that's kind of like built into the tree, because like they got to be. You wouldn't want to have to like haul it every time to get to the tree. So there's like, I think there's a workshop at the base of the tree, with all sorts of like carpentry tools and stuff, and really rudimentary hand stuff, but it's probably mostly just like, actually it's probably not even all that big. I just imagine like they've got like some chisels and a mallet and not even a lot of them, and it's just all very painstaking, slow work, but intricately done.
They might even have like on display some smaller objects with
around the shop,
sculptings on it, like stumps and
and very
woodwork, maybe even some ice sculptures.
Maybe. I don't know if they've tried that or not. And there's also stuff that like things that the apprentices have worked on to kind of like hone their skills that are also just around the shop. And like I imagine something like some wood chimes and stuff that are hanging. Actually, I wonder how much is wood, because like the only tree nearby is this one that they probably wouldn't want to be getting like lumber from. So they probably don't do. It's probably more stone. than anything.
But they trade a lot, so they might have
Yeah.
something. They probably have all kinds of things: wood, stone,
Yeah. Some clay
marble, clay. Yeah.
But
Various
yeah.
things.
So yeah, I think there's like some hanging wood chimes and various just like stone carvings along like a ledge. And also just like the inside of the shop is probably just like got almost kind of like a mosaic all around it that's been like carved in. I think it's incomplete. It's like almost all the way around, but it seems like a little bit more of a recent project than like I think the apprentice is like newer or something, and so it's just like here, why don't you practice making this design all the way around the room? Um,
Yeah.
and so there's a let's get a descriptor of this person. I just want one. I don't need. I don't think they need to be like a full fleshed person, but like, what's the first descriptor we get of them? Bitter. Hooray. Um, oh, also, I think you were supposed to get more momentum out of your gather information, which would max you out. So, hooray. Let's give you that. Boop. So, bitter, I imagine like just a gnarled old coot who's like probably mostly bitter about like his apprentice is probably not living up to expectations, and like he knows that he's not got too long left in the world, and it's like, I don't want you like passing the baton down from generation to generation on the carver of the history. I like you better shape up fast because this isn't cutting it. I think is mostly what's keeping him bitter these days.
So what's the apprentice's name?
The apprentice's name, who's probably just like in the shop as well, busy carving. Bevan.
Sounds like an apprentice name.
Yeah. Bevan!
Bevan.
Or Bevan, yeah, either. Bevan! Get over here! Or yeah, on your way in, you probably hear the first thing you hear as you're like walking towards the door is just no, 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 not as, which just sets the tone for all of their interaction, because he's like in the middle of like carving like a 3-dimensional like rose into the wall or something. It's just like it doesn't. Boy, have you seen a rose before? Your petal work is like, I don't know. I'm no carver or sculptor or botanist, so I have no expertise on any of what he'd be complaining about. But he's got some
I
kind.
bet he would be complaining about that. That doesn't look like a rose.
Yeah. You're a boy who's clearly never planted anything in his life. Any rose like that would fall over. The head is far too large compared to the stem. And where are the thorns? Like, just complaint after complaint as you come into the shop. And maybe they even have, like, the, like, your antlers, I think they bang on the wood chimes as you go in. So it's almost like one of those bells that when you open the door to a shop that goes like, ding, ding, and lets you know he's in there. Your antlers just go like, on the little hollow wooden... Yeah.
Darn it!
Yeah. Ah! Yes.
Sorry, I'm so.
We're busy.
I'm sorry, these get stuck on everything.
I'm busy teaching.
I imagine that.
To a student who doesn't learn. Bevan, greet the guest.
Who's the leader of the town? Oh yeah, Kuan. I imagine she's assisting me, or she's accompanying me. Because this means a lot to her. It seems like this meant a lot to her, so I imagine she's...
That makes some sense to me. Sure. So she's just like, Emmeline, put down your bristles. This is a very important guest. What does this one want? He's got like very like arthritic knuckles and stuff from just a life full of too much handy like intricate work.
My name is Grae, and I bring to you good news of better weather. But the only way
Tenor
we
weather.
can achieve this,
Heh.
the only way we can achieve this is through a spell. And part of the spell is having a very intricately carved bar of ice.
Kulan,
And
Kulan, you're planning to give away this town's whole fortune to the next person who comes around with a bunch of magic beans. How? This bar of ice is gonna stop the storm. We got too much ice already.
This will require a lot more than just beans, sir. This requires chanting and these symbols. And I open the book and turn it towards him. Kind of, he probably has a table on.
Oh, you've put in
And show him all the symbols.
put in a great deal of effort, I see, into this ruse. You con artist. No, I think you can convince him, but you'll have to indeed be able to convince him that like you're not trying to just like hustle him and run out. Like you actually are planning on doing this. So
Yeah.
let's see if you can compel him that this is actually not bullshit.
I assure you that this is an authentic spell book with real effective spells when done correctly, and we do need your help.
Now let's see. Can you compel them that A, this is all true, and B, like you should help and everything? Let's see. Use your heart and
I'm hurting.
ooh, we actually have a miss, but if you use your momentum, you could turn it into a weak hit.
I'm using my momentum.
Okay. Oh man, a lot of momentum burn, but yeah, it had some high challenge on that one. Suppose all the way down.
It requires 9. Crap.
Yeah. Well, anytime you burn, it resets down to just your reset value. It doesn't. The higher up just means it's more likely to be able to help you, but it always just resets to the same place. So yeah, you trigger your momentum, you get a weak hit out of it, which, as we've discussed plenty before, means he's going to want something in return. Like, helping the town is not enough, apparently. I'm guessing, like... Yeah, I know. I'm guessing that the problem is, like, he expects to die soon enough, and he's getting a little... He's bitter, and he's spent a whole life doing stuff for other people, and it's just like, what do I get out of it? Like, I'm not gonna... Great, so the winter is gonna die down. Or let's have him just voice all these. Great. You have some real spells that are going to calm the winter. Everything will die down, and people will be able to grow their crops. And by the time they sprout from the ground and are harvested, where's Emily going to be? Buried in the ground with him is where he's going to be. What do I get out of it? Why should I hurt my hands doing these intricate, tiny little carvings for everybody else? I've been doing that my whole life. Now let's see. So what is the thing that he would want in return? What would make it worthwhile? How about
Flint, you got any ideas?
I think he would have something he's asking for. I'm just trying to, as a player, trying to think of what it is. What does he want? Let's figure out a goal for him. That might help inform a little bit about like what sort of thing he would want. Obtain an object. Okay. There's something that he wants.
Maybe it was something that he carved a while ago that somebody in the town got from him somehow, but it was a treasure to him because it was one of his finest works. Maybe he wants it back. Maybe he wants to be buried with it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like he probably wants it to be buried with. One of the higher
ups. Maybe one of the higher ups kind of took it from him. Said this belongs in a museum. I don't know.
No, I like the general idea of that. I think it's definitely something he wants to be buried with because he's just resigned to die at this point. So there's not a lot he wants like in life, but
it might be something that Kulan has in possession of, or
yeah, I was thinking it could be he could have made that like gold badge of office we were talking about, which I mean we were talking about how you need gold, but then he would have it. Actually, I like that idea. So the thing he wants, he made that gold badge of office. He wants to be buried with it.
There's a
But
gold badge of office.
well, you talking about how Kulan has gold, and there is, but it would be this like gold kind of symbol that marks them as the leader. He wants it back. It was his finest work. Working with it was hard to work with that metal, but it looks gorgeous. He wants to be buried with it when he dies.
Okay.
And but you know that this is like the gold that the town has. So if that were to happen, then that would offset getting gold from this town as well. Unless maybe they have some more. We could find out, but he wants to be buried with that. And now another route, of course, like if you don't want to accept those terms, could maybe get his apprentice to do it. Like maybe Bevan would be more open to it, but probably not as skilled.
I like that idea. Maybe I say, okay, have it your way then. Bevan,
Clearly being unreasonable.
how would you like to be? I can't do the word right now.
The sculptor or
Promoted.
promoted, yeah. Bevan, who has just been yelled at all day, it's just like, oh, you have no fucking idea. Like,
And by the way, that rose is beautiful.
oh man, and just like Emmeline is just seething with that and just like turns back around, like gives you a full on brush off, just like, have it your way. If you think this one is going to be carving any kind of intricacies, this is gonna make the weather worse if anything else. But go ahead. Have fun with Bevan. Take him. Bevan? Get out of my sight. Help these nice people. Ha! Bevan just like...
It was
Well, the weekend was just the one thing that they wanted in return. Which...
Okay, so he wasn't going to help unless he got
Yeah,
that. Okay.
exactly.
But I need that gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, the weekend means that he wants something in return, but that doesn't mean that you have to go along with it. You can always say, like, no, I'm not good with those terms, and walk away. Which... So yeah, but you got Bevan, who's probably, doesn't have nearly the experience with it, but at least probably got a better attitude, and is... I don't think that they necessarily want anything in return. I think the real trade-off here is just that you're getting somebody who's less skilled, but has basically been told by his boss to do it.
But he's got to be pretty ready to take up.
I mean,
Emmeline.
he's not like a complete novice and has no idea what he's doing. More than Emmeline sees him that way. Bevan would consider himself more than ready for this, but from a top-down view, like, he's definitely not as skilled. He hasn't had a lifetime of practice like Emmeline has, but he's not bad.
All right, Bevan, the town is counting on you. This is your moment to shine.
And Bevan,
Would you take up the challenge?
let's get one descriptor of
creating
Bevan.
this-
Bevan is loyal. Okay, so all the more that, like, probably loyal to the town, loyal to, like, despite... This is the reason why he keeps putting up with Emmeline's shit, is he just, like, believes in that structure. It's like, I gotta do what's right, I just gotta put up with it, he's my master, and the master told me to help you. He said it very sarcastically, but that's what he said to do. So he just, like, breathed a sigh and came out with you guys. He's, like, looking over the book, and I think we got, like, probably a little bit of a montage here of, like, you going over the plans with him and, like, studying together, planning this all out. Now, we need to represent making this ice thing, like making the big long thing of ice, and the ritual itself. I think these are two different roles, but that we can kind of wrap up the whole thing in that. which is good because we got just about enough time to do that sort of thing. So
Damn it! I thought we were gonna.
we're getting so close. I think by the end of this, we could, if this works, you could easily barter it for the last two things you need, and we'll be ready to start next time with that, perhaps.
Okay. I wanna suggest taking one of those giant icicles hanging from the giant tree.
Ooh, I like that.
And turning that into what we need, because that is the closest shape. That'll be the shortest amount of time to sculpt what you.
That's fantastic. There's probably is one up there. Like, why don't we have you secure an advantage by finding one of those? Like, secure an advantage with wits to like point out like, look at that hanging from that branch. That would be perfect.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right, let's see. So secure an advantage with wits. Because this is helpful. Because obviously, like, getting it is not going to be something that you're good at, but Naya might be able to decently. With all the gliding and going up trees and stuff.
Well, and people in the town can easily find one because they probably have the structures.
A complication on secure an advantage. Now, granted. Okay. Here's what I see that complication as being. Because it's just secure an advantage. You weren't trying to do it. All you're doing was, like, pointing out and looking at something. What if, like, at that moment, like, this huge gust comes and, like, ironically, like it shakes the trees and, like, that huge icicle starts rocketing down, like, falls off the tree, and it's, like, this needle-sharp thing daggering towards you to, like, have to get out of the way of. You're, like, standing underneath it, it's like, wait, what about, and, like, comes off and is plummeting down towards you. Let's have you face danger to get out of the way of this. To not just be, like, impaled by this icicle.
Okay. I am going to just jump out of the way.
Yeah.
As soon as I realize that's headed straight for.
Yeah, exactly. You have your chance. We'll just see, is the face danger good enough? As it just this really inopportune gust of wind comes and just knocks it off the tree. But hey, the good part is, you might be able to, if it survives the fall, it'll be down here already.
True.
So let's see. Grae rolling some edge. Oop, hold on, that thing didn't work.
Hey, you guys could use it. Oh my god.
Fuck! Okay. Oh, hold on. The only reason it says you could burn momentum is because I didn't update the momentum on Roll20. So, sorry, that's misleading. So you can't burn it for a strong hit, unfortunately. Unfortunately that's a miss. So I think you're going to take some damage from this. Like, I don't think it, like, just goes through your head and kills you or anything. But, like, you can't quite get out of the way, and, like, it's sharp, and it's going to cause some damage. Let's just have you endure some harm by...
Why is it always me? Why can't it be Naya?
So you're the hero in this story. Hey, you want to be Naya and kill Naya? Hey, I'll have to get somebody all over again. May, you're at full health. You'll be fine. Let's just say that it does, like this thing we described as pretty big and hefty, and it's falling from a great height. This sounds like it would probably do, like, 2 damage, like, 2 harm.
Okay.
But
fine. Yeah.
We'll endure it, and you might get some back. Because the next move we gotta do is see how well you take that. Yeah, just the weather, it's almost like the weather knows that you're gonna try and change it, and it's Presquitio, thank you for it. It like knows that you're trying to calm it down, and whatever force is behind that is trying to, like, keep you from being able to. And so, like, it knew, it took that moment to try to block it off the tree. Like, some force was, like, acting with purpose behind this. It wasn't just crazy happenstance.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Maybe this weather is some kind of entity.
Yeah, and it knows that you're trying to mute it.
Or caused by the obelisks? Or...
I think it's a combination of things. I think it started because of the obelisks, but maybe it's taken on a kind of life of its own, and, like, it doesn't want to be taken out. So it's using its forces to try and take you out first. So, suffer move. There we go. Endure harm. Gonna roll that with your health. Which I need to update first. 1 sec. Strong hit, which does mean you can indeed get one of those points back. So on a strong hit, I believe you have an option here. You can either shake it off, which allows you to suffer -1 momentum in exchange for +1 health, or if you embrace the pain, just take +1 momentum right now.
I'm gonna shake it off.
All right. So it's so one fewer momentum, but get some of that health back. So it's a graze. You're able to mostly dive out of the way. It kind of like it makes this bad kind of gash on your arm, but it's not that deep. It's a little painful, but it'll heal. Now here's the all-important question: is this a thick enough icicle? Was it able to survive the fall, or when it hit the ground, did it just like crack into a bunch of pieces?
Yeah, let's find out.
Because that's important. Honestly, I put this as like 50-50 because we described it as being like it was huge. That was part of what was so dangerous about it. It could well survive the fall, and it's falling into a bunch of snow. So
yeah, it could have just
honestly,
impaled snow.
honestly, I'm gonna put this up to likely then because it's got a really soft landing, and it's really thick. Let's see. However, even with me rating it as likely, it does not survive the landing. Yeah.
Well, shit.
It cracks into a bunch of pieces. Again, probably one of the things that like this force of nature was trying to stop you from doing it. So it may have acted malevolently to try and make that happen, and like slammed it down to the ground harder than it ordinarily would. Like the wind that knocked it off the tree was like downward, which was really odd. And so it just like launches it down. It breaks into a bunch of pieces. Now, I think that there's probably others up there. It just maybe not the perfect one. Yeah.
It might be, some of them might be hidden by like the branches. I imagine there are some branches with pine needles that might be thick enough that we can't quite see what's up there because it's so high up. So Naya, how are you feeling up for a flight? A bit of flitting?
I think that's a small enough request of Naya, given your current relationship, that that's Naya would do it. That makes some sense. So Naya's gonna try and climb this tree up. We're gonna do kind of a face danger on behalf. Well, I guess we don't have stats for Naya yet. We'll do them once Flint is in the body.
Yeah.
I mean, Naya's an NPC. We can kind of just like declare what happens to a degree. I think Naya, or reflect it through something that your direction of Naya or something. I think Naya can climb up the tree easily enough.
He's gonna have to take his clothes off for that.
That's true.
I think this is where he strips finally, and they're all just like, "Oh."
Yeah, there's like quite like children's faces being hidden and stuff.
It's probably like gladly.
Yeah, they shed their clothes and climb up the tree.
No, that's right.
And they're very adept at it. They've done a lot of they were the gliding instructor, so they were used to climbing up these tall trees and doing it. So that's not a problem. And let's just to be able to reflect this as something we can make as a roll. We should probably just do it as your stat. Like use your wits to kind of like point in the direction of like get that one. That way we can make a roll out of this.
Okay, yeah. So I'll be like, I think I see one on the left side on that branch that sticks the furthest out. I think I see one, but it's way up there.
Yeah.
Can you go for it?
Which again, I think is really like really best described as like a secure and advantage move. Like it's weird because you're not like setting up to do anything yourself exactly, but it still seems most related to this move.
Yeah.
So we're going to secure an advantage on... It's kind of like you're basically aiding them. So you're making an aid your ally move with securing advantage. There we go. This one goes way better. You find another one. You use your keen vision, and let's see. Because you got a strong hit, you get to... You can either make another move right now and add +1, or take +2 momentum. So would you like this to give you a bonus? Like, in theory, this could be set up like it's just so the perfect one that when it gets carved, that'll be done. You'll have a +1 on that, or you can take +2 momentum right now.
I want to secure the carving.
Get that +1. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's such the perfect one. It's like really a good dimension and like thickness. It should really work with what you've seen in the book. And I don't think the book had like diagrams of like exactly what it should look like, because it was written for like, you know, it was more theory for different kinds of weather. You're kind of like, you put the pieces together yourself. It's like, so for winter, what we'd probably need is an icicle this long. Like, you kind of came up with that on your own, but based on what the book said, you know it should work. But
we just assume they get it down.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's why we were doing it as you rolling, just finding it. Because yeah, Naya is big and can glide, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable enough. Plus, it's, you know, usually roll on behalf of NPCs. They just kind of do stuff. We convince them to do things, and they do them, and then other things might influence that. So we've got the icicle. We've got. We need to get it carved, which again could just be a matter of like your direction, really. I think a lot of these are really just we have to kind of reflect them as just like you aiding the people that are doing them. And I think that +1 could yeah, let's just do another security advantage of you just like guiding the process. Again, this would be probably really your wits, just like referencing the book and being able to accurately describe well enough for them like what you need and like how to keep it in balance, like just helping it out with that. Because like as a sculptor, he's probably good at like making the shapes, but doesn't have quite the experience to be so cool with like exactly maintaining that level of perfect balance that you need. Whereas you might be able to help keep track of that better, just because you're really smart. So let's see. Representing the carving. You're aiding with these wits, and another strong hit. Awesome. This is a good time for it. So again, oh, I didn't even give you the +1 in that. Well, there was a strong hit anyway. So you have the same result. You could get the +1 on the ritual when you do it, or you could get 2 momentum now.
Let's get +1 on the ritual.
Sounds like a good idea. All right, we are just about out of time, but let's definitely do this ritual. So we have this whole montage of stuff happening. You know, Naya gets the icicle down, and we got like all this hacking away and chiseling at the ice, and it's carved up, eventually like held up, and this like beam of light shines through it, and it's like glowing in this like really clear ice. It looks really cool. It's clearly as an object of great significance, and we've got it on this far simpler, just like, you know, basically like a smooth stick that's been carved to a point, stuck in the ground, and like the whole town is gathered around to see this. It's, you know, it's out in one of the frozen fields, because if anywhere, that's the place where they really want it to not be snowing. They want their fields, so it's like in the middle of this wide open field, and the stick, which is like, I see it as like it's like as tall as a person, so it's like spinning like right above your head kind of thing. So you like knock it like that. So this stick is embedded in the ground. Some people have helped get it up there, and they're ready. Everybody is just watching from like a safe distance, in just having like they're so curious what's going to happen. And let us do a face danger with your wits with a +1 to represent pulling off this ritual. And here we go.
Do some chanting.
Yeah. Wits with a +1. Really knocking it around, and like every time it has the slightest bit of wobble or oh wait, people were going to try and block the wind somehow. So there's
Yeah.
probably during that montage, people were like erecting like some kind of like walls or sheets or something that can be held up to try and block the winds. Just something makeshift. Or do you have a different idea of how they might do that?
I imagine they're just using whatever they can find to block it. Like
Yeah,
maybe sheets or
because I'm guessing it took some time to
pelts sewn together.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's really wide.
Because it was so intricately carved the ice, it probably took a little while. So there was time for other people in the town to help out, like on order of Kulan, to just like
So
to make these like scaffoldings and yeah, like get this set up because that was what was going to be needed. The whole town comes together for this, and the ritual happens. And okay, a weak hit, which means there's going to be you succeed, but you face a troublesome cost. If this had been a miss, I would have gotten to finally roll on. There's a ritual mishap table that we could oracle that we could have rolled on. You didn't get a miss, so all it does is it's going to cost you one of your sliders, like health, stress, resources, or momentum. Something's going to go down. We need to figure out like what the cause of it is.
I imagine it's stressful.
Yeah,
because it's a lot riding on my shoulders. Like
exactly. Like it takes a lot out of you emotionally to do this thing, and like every little weeble of it, and you know that the success of this is a lot of it is riding on like them giving you the things you need for Flint, all the stuff.
And I imagine this is over the course of like 24 hours, so maybe I haven't slept.
Yeah, exactly. Just all of this is just mentally, it's taken a lot on you. I like that. You've had to just stay up for a long way. And let's have you endure stress real quick. Just see how well you take that. So that goes down to that. And endure stress with your spirit. Oh, actually, I believe it's spirit or heart, whichever one is higher, and your heart is actually higher. Let me just verify that. We're almost done. Yeah, spirit or heart. Heart is higher. You're going to endure stress really well because your heart is like always going to be a bamf. Okay, well you only get a weak hit on it, which means nothing happens. Like you take it, you're so exhausted from this whole process, but like the spinning like slows to, or maybe it like the ritual is complete and like even though it should be done spinning, like it like keeps going and like really whips in this way that's like starts going counter to the direction of the winds, and it makes almost like this kind of like cyclone that billows out around the ice as it just like keeps spinning and keeps spinning and keeps spinning, and this cyclone forms out and keeps expanding and going counter to the wind and the weather, and there's just like this tumultuous billowing all around, the snow whipping around, but this ever expanding eye in the storm that is getting calm and calm and calm and expands over the field and expands over the town, and there's just this wide area where the snowfall stops and the wind stops and everything is calm once more. And why don't we go out on
just over
that?
the town in the field.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like it only goes so far. Yeah, there's probably like going to be this hard limit where
it's going to be interesting to travelers.
You'll
too.
walk back
like,
in.
oh.
It'll be a very sudden just cut off.
Yeah.
And now I also imagine this is the type of it's not permanent, but it's for a time, and you've certainly shown them how to do it.
Yeah, I guess I'd tell them that too. This can only last for yay amount of weeks.
Let's roll an oracle real quick before we go out. I just want to know like how long is this going to last them. So ask the oracle like, will this last at least a month?
Months? Weeks?
Yeah, will this last at least a month? Yes. Okay. It's at least a month. Will this last 6 months? No. So somewhere on the order of months. You don't know exactly how long, but like there will be a handful of months where they will have this calm, but it's going to have to be redone. But you've shown them how to do it and all of that. But
there you go, folks.
yeah,
make the most of it.
Exactly. So you've done this thing for them. We haven't done it in character yet, but I think it's heavily implied. Like stopping taking care of their most important thing is definitely enough to get the like. They'll give you gold. They'll give you a beast of burden. Like you will have your things out of this. They'll happily comply. You have solved their most important problem for them.
Yay!
So you have all the things.
Tradesies!
You have all the things ready for next time. Yeah, you've done a great thing for the town of Pine Shadow, and I hope
feel accomplished.
you should feel accomplished. I hope you all have enjoyed. I've certainly enjoyed all sorts of stuff that we invented for this thing this time. Had kind of like a little bit of a wavy balance between like action and lore, but it's always fun. I do love though that one of the things this game does really well is that complication moment when the icicle fell. Sure, it really sucked that it happened all of a sudden. I mean, it didn't cost you too much, but like, it was awful to see a complication happen. But at the same time, that gave us that idea of like maybe there's something more behind this winter. Like it could be like that happened completely randomly, but it gave this really cool idea of like that was no accident, and like I think you've solved this problem for Pine's Shadow, but in the process have probably made this like greater winter that's around this area very upset with you. Like
we've angered the gods.
It clearly noticed you enough to try and attack you, and so that'll be an interesting thing moving forward. You've been noticed by this great force.
Meddling in things I ought not to be meddling.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been another session of Ironsworn. We do this usually on Tuesdays. Wednesday was a better day this week, but usually we do this on Tuesdays starting at 3 p.m. Pacific time. We go for a couple of hours. And otherwise, we both do music streams. Blink, why don't you tell us about yours?
Yeah, I'm Blink Firefly, and I stream lullabies and the like.
Yeah.
And tinklies. and singing and ukulele. And yeah.
Yes.
And Dagon.
You should absolutely go. Dagon's the cat who's like, what the hell is going on? But yeah, you should absolutely
passed out.
Head over to her channel to enjoy some fantastic music and give her a follow. I do cello music on Sunday nights, 5 to 9 p.m. Pacific time. And then I'm supposed to be doing more games and stuff on the channel during the week. I've been doing more stuff around the house, so I've been kind of neglecting that a little bit. But usually at 2, 3 o'clock during weekdays, I do various kinds of streams around here. Some gaming, some music. It just depends. Right now I'm doing a lot of housework though, so that's a little bit more on hiatus. So it's just like the Tuesday Ironsworn stream and Sundays with a big long cello request stream. But anyway, if you enjoyed this game, I really hope that you pick it up to play it for yourself. It's a lot of fun. Again, we, as I always mention, never put any planning into this. All we do is remind ourselves where we left off. The game kind of does the rest. As long as you've got a little bit of an imagination and are willing to just kind of like let things figure it out and just recognize that you won't have the perfect answers, but things will just wait for inspiration. It really handles that very well. So pick it up at ironswornrpg.com. I think you'll really enjoy it. And if you do, tell me about your adventures. I want to hear them. Head over to my Discord and tell me about what stories you've run with Ironsworn. How is your game different? Your world could be very different than ours. Your adventures could be very different than ours. I want to know what happened to your characters. But yeah, otherwise, I think that's about it for us. So have a great afternoon or evening or whatever, and I will see you around. Bye, everyone.